Hello students, welcome to JCE Connect. The subject groundwater and hydraulics 17 CV 742. Today we will start with the sources of groundwater. So as we all know that the groundwater is the water which is present below the ground. So we call it as subsurface water, or we call it as underground water. So we must know from where the water is going and it is becoming underground water. So what all the sources of groundwater we will discuss now. So the first source of groundwater is the meteoric water. So meteoric water here, it includes the water which is derived from the atmospheric precipitation in the form of rainfall, or it may be hail or snow. Okay, so these are different forms of water, right? So this includes the water which is derived from the atmospheric precipitation, that is nothing but the rainfall, right? So which reaches the sea through the surface flow or runoff. Then after melting after meeting the requirements of the soil, it percolates into the ground and then it becomes the groundwater. So this infiltered water which continues its downward journey till it reaches the zone of saturation, that is known as the meteoric water. So here whatever water which is derived from the atmospheric precipitation, it may be in the form of rain, or it may be a hail or a snow, etc. Okay, it may be any form of water. So when it reaches into the ground, okay, that becomes the underground water after percolation. So that is one of the source of groundwater, that is the meteoric water. Then the next source of water is the connate water. So connate water is the water which is entrapped in the interstices of the sedimentary rocks during the consolidation or the formation of the rock. So here we must know how the sedimentary rocks are formed. So we have studied this already, the formation of sedimentary rocks, right, in geology. So sedimentary rocks are formed by sediments. So because of the weathering, what happens? Weathering is the process of disintegration and decomposition of the rocks, by which the rock becomes weaker and it will break into small pieces, right? So those the small pieces, we call it as sediments, and these sediments are transported from one place to other place by means of either wind or water, and finally the all sediments, they get deposited into a basin, right? And there, after the consolidation, cementation, okay, the rocks are formed. Those are called as the sedimentary rocks. So during its formation, what happens? Because it is formed by sediments, different rock fragments, in between, whenever the empty space is left, okay, then some water gets entrapped in the interstices, or the pores, you can say, or the gaps in between the sediments, and that water which is trapped, that is called as the one of the source of water, that is the connate water. So connate water is what? The water which was trapped or entrapped in the interstices of the sedimentary rocks during its formation or the consolidation of the sedimentary rocks. Sometimes incomplete compaction may cause the retention of some water in the rock, which is known as connate water. So what happens? Because of the compaction from the top sediments, because one above the other sediments get deposited and the bottom layer gets compacted more, right? So because of the compaction, what happens? The grains come together closer, okay, and the spaces which are left, they are reduced, pore spaces are reduced, so it becomes compacted. But when there is incomplete compaction, right, when the compaction is not proper, then there are chances that whatever water is stored in between the pores of those sediments, that gets trapped, and that causes the retention of some amount of water in the rock, that we call it as the connate water. So sometimes incomplete compaction, it causes the retention of some water in the rock, and we call that water as connate water. So the openings or the interstices of all the sedimentary rocks which are deposited beneath the ocean, what happens, they were or they get originally filled with salty water if it is in the ocean, and after, when the rocks have been lifted above the sea and the fresh water slowly drives out, and that it replaces the salt water. So this may happen during over a period of time, right, during the changes which are occurring on the earth. So it exists as a pocket of segment, okay, or pockets or segments of stagnant water, especially in the structures which hold the oil and gas deposits, and which have been flushed out with the fresh water. So this type of water we often get when we extract the natural deposits of oil and gas, okay. So that water which is entrapped in the interstices of the sediments, that is called as the connate water. Then the next source of water is the juvenile water. Juvenile, or it is also called as the magmatic water. So as we all know what is magma, so magma is a hot, viscous, molten rock material which is present deep inside the earth, right. So this the magmatic water is the water which exists within and in equilibrium with the magma, or the water rich volatile fluids that are derived from magma. So whatever water that is associated or which is in equilibrium with the magma, or the water rich volatile fluids, that water is called as the magmatic water because it is derived from magma. So it is the water which is found in the cracks and crevasses or the pores or porous rocks, okay, due to the condensation steam emanating from the hot molten masses or the magma which is existing below the surface of the earth, okay. So some hot springs or geysers, they are clearly derived from the juvenile water. So here the magmatic water, so the water which is associated or which is in equilibrium with the magma below the earth, because this water is going deeper into the earth, right. Whenever there are cracks, crevasses, okay, wherever there are openings, the groundwater starts percolating and it goes deeper and deeper, and sometimes it comes in contact with the magma chamber or the water which is rich in volatile fluids. So whenever the water comes in contact with such magma or volatile rich fluids, it is called as the magmatic water or juvenile water. So this magmatic water is released to the atmosphere during either a volcanic eruption or as a hydrothermal fluids during late stages of magmatic crystallization or during the solidification within the earth's crust. So this type of water will come out, okay, during an volcanic eruption or when or through openings like hot springs, geysers, okay. So that water will try to come out on the surface, and that water we call it as the juvenile water. So these are all the sources of water, sources of groundwater. Now we'll discuss the vertical or the subsurface distribution of groundwater or the water. So this is very important question, okay, and very important concept to understand. So the subsurface occurrence of groundwater, okay, it is divided into two zones. You can see in the image here, right? It is divided into two zones, right? The first one is the zone of aeration, and one more is the zone of saturation. So zone of aeration is from the surface, okay, that is from this point to this point, and below that up to the hard rock, okay, or the bottom, that is called as the zone of saturation. So this subsurface occurrence of groundwater, it is divided into zone of aeration and the zone of saturation, and these two zones, you can see, they are separated by this line that we call it as the water table, right? So these two zones, that is zone of aeration and the zone of saturation, they are separated by water table. So the water table is generally considered to be the lower surface of the zone of suspended water and the upper boundary of the zone of saturation. So this is the upper boundary of the zone of saturation, that is the water table. So the water table, it may also be defined as the contact plane between the free groundwater and the capillary fringe. So here you can see there is a capillary fringe. When we go to this type, I'll explain in detail what is capillary fringe, but for time being you just understand that the water table, it is also defined as the contact plane between the free groundwater, that is this water, and the capillary fringe, that is at the top. So that is how we can define the water table. So water table, it fluctuates with the weather conditions, okay, it is not same everywhere, right? If you want to see this water table fluctuations, you can do simple test, okay, like if there are open wells in and around, you can just check the water levels, okay, the top layer or the depth of the water table you can check. So it is not same everywhere, right? So the water table fluctuates with the weather conditions, and it varies with the topography of the region. That topography means the nature of the ground, okay, how is the nature or the slope of the ground, it depends on that also. So topography of the region, weather conditions, okay, that affects the water table. So the water of the saturated zone is usually denoted as the groundwater. So this water which is in the zone of saturation, that is called as the groundwater, or it is also called as phreatic water. So now this is the general, I have explained you what is or how the vertical distribution of groundwater is done. So this is one more image to make you understand how the groundwater is distributed below the surface. So here you can see again the zone of aeration and the zone of saturation, and it is separated by a water table, okay, and the water in the zone of saturation is called as the groundwater, Okay, so here you can see in the other image, okay, wherein you can see the clear image what is there inside. So zone of aeration, capillary fringe, water table, and zone of saturation. So each layer we'll see one by one now. So the first zone, that is the zone of aeration or the zone of suspended water. It is also called as the zone of suspended water. So this zone of aeration, okay, an overlay zone of this zone of aeration overlay the zone of saturation and extends upward to the ground surface as shown in the figure you can see here. Okay, so this zone, it consists of the interstices or the openings or the pores which are occupied partially by water and partially by air. So whatever pores or the interstices present in this zone of saturation, they are partly occupied by water and partially occupied by air. And again, this zone is further divided into three subzones. You can see here the soil water zone, the intermediate vadose zone, and the capillary zone. So zone of aeration is divided into three subzones, that is soil water zone, which is at the top. In between there is a intermediate vadose zone, and at the bottom there is a capillary zone. So we'll see in detail, we'll try to understand the each zone. So first zone is the soil water zone. You can see in the figure, okay, what is where is the soil water zone exactly. So the soil water zone, so this is the upper portion of the zone of aeration. This is clearly seen here. The zone of soil water zone is what? It is the upper portion of the zone of aeration. So the belt of soil water, which constitutes the upper portion of the zone of aeration, and that is limited to the surface layer which is penetrated by roots. You can see it is limited to the surface layer which is penetrated by roots. So usually what is soil water zone is up to where the roots can penetrate and they can extract the water. Okay, so this soil water zone, the thickness of this is varies, okay, with the soil type and the vegetation. So the thickness of this soil water zone it varies with the type of soil and what type of vegetation is grown in that particular area. So with these two factors, the thickness of the soil water zone vary. So the belt of soil water is the great reservoir of available root moisture upon which the plant life depends. So in the beginning only we have discussed that this zone, okay, is up to what, where the roots penetrate, right? So the growth of the plant or the life of the plant, it depends upon this soil water zone. So the belt of soil water zone is the great reservoir of the available root moisture on which the plant life depends. Then if you zoom out this layer, okay, to understand more clearly what is there in the soil water zone is the water of this zone of aeration, it includes the stored water which occurs as the attached film. In the image you can see, okay, this water, it includes the stored water which occurs as attached film on the surface of the openings and as a wedge-shaped bodies at the junction between the interstices. So here These are the four interstices or the soil particles. You can see these are the four soil particles in the image are shown. Okay, and in between, right, lines you can see, it is denoted with the lines. So that is the water film, and center where all four particles they combine, there is a air. You can see at the center there is a air. So the water of this zone of aeration, it includes the stored water. Okay, where it is stored, it occurs as a attached film on the surface of openings and as a wedge shaped. You can see here as a wedge shaped, this portion as a wedge shaped bodies at the junction between the interstices. So this is how the soil water occurs. Okay, so the water here which occurs as a thin film of moisture, that is known as hygroscopic water. So what it is called as, that water which is which is occurring as a thin film of moisture, that is known as the hygroscopic water, which is remained adsorbed on the fine grained soil particles. So this remains adsorbed on the soil particles, fine grained soil particles. So this gravitational water which drains through the soil under the influence of gravity. So here whatever water that is going down or percolating down, that is because of the influence of gravity. So this is the soil water zone. I hope you have understood what is soil water zone, how the water occurs in this zone. So this is the upper portion of zone of aeration. Okay, and this is the zone where the roots penetrate, or the moisture content or root moisture, it depends, the availability of root moisture in the soil water zone, it depends upon how much water, what type of soil, what type of nature of ground or topography, that all factors affect the presence of water in the soil water zone. So the water which is present here, okay, in between the soil particles, okay, that is known as the hygroscopic water, which remained absorbed on the fine grained soil particles. So this gravitational water which drains through the soil under the influence of gravity. So this is the soil water zone. Next we'll discuss the intermediate zone, or it is called as Vadose zone. Intermediate Vadose zone. Why it is intermediate? Because it is in between the soil water zone and the capillary zone. So it is called as intermediate zone. It is called as intermediate Vadose zone. So this zone extends from the lower edge of the soil water zone to the upper limit of the capillary zone. So here you can see this zone extends from the lower edge of the soil water zone to the upper limit of the capillary zone. So this is called as the intermediate zone. Okay, then the thickness, again it varies from 0, where the bounding zone are merged with the high water table approaching the ground surface. So wherever the groundwater table is very high, okay, there it will merge with the soil water zone. So sometimes these intermediate zone will remain 0, or it is absent, okay, in some areas. It will merge with a high water table approaching the ground surface to more than 100 meter under deep water table conditions. So It depends upon water table, at what depth the water table is available. If it is at very high, okay, or very near to the surface, if your water table is, then this intermediate zone will remain, will be very less, it is almost zero. And wherever the water table is at lower distance, at very deep, then it may reach, it may be more than 100 meters under deep water table conditions. So the water which is held by surface molecular tension. So here whatever water is present, this water is held by surface or molecular tension, and the sorted water, the stored water above the capillary fringe, that is called as the pellicular water. So whatever water here is stored, okay, the stored water above the capillary fringe, that water is called as pellicular water. So pelliculum, the word is derived from the Latin word meaning skin, very thin layer, skin will be very thin, okay. So like that thin skin like layer is present. So whatever excess water, okay, that is free to travel downward towards the water table is referred to as the gravity water or Vadose water. So what is gravity or Vadose water is whatever water is allowed or which is free to travel downward towards the water table, that is referred to as the gravity water, because it is flowing with the gravity, flow of gravity, or it is also called as the Vadose water. So water, it moves freely under the control of gravity only after the grains or the rock surfaces that have been coated with pellicular water. Means what? The water which is moving downward freely under the control of gravity only after the grains or the rock surfaces they have been coated with the pellicular water. Means once it becomes saturated, then it moves downward under the force, gravitational force, and that water is called as the gravity water or Vadose water. So this is the intermediate zone or Vadose zone, intermediate Vadose zone. Next is the capillary zone. This is very important. So capillary zone, or it is also called as the capillary fringe, this zone extends from the water table up to the limit of capillary rise of the water. So here this is the capillary zone, capillary fringe. So water here is present in the capillarity action, you can see. So capillary zone, it extends from water table up to a limit of capillary rise. Up to what height the water can rise in the small tube like hairline tubes will be there, and water will rise in that tube like openings, and up to what height the water can rise, that is the capillary zone. Next, the water of the fringe, that is capillary fringe, that is held above the water table by capillarity. So capillarity is the action, okay. So because of the capillarity action, the water of the fringe that is held above the water table, so this water may be denoted as capillary water, or it is also called as the fringe water. So it is present in the capillary zone. So this water is called as the capillary water or the fringe water. So the capillary zone will vary again inversely with the pore size of the soil or the rock. So here again its size or this zone, the thickness of this zone, it will vary inversely with the pore size of a soil or the rock. So capillary rise is almost zero in coarse material, right? So here it is written inversely with the pore size, means if the pore size is more, okay, if the pores are or the openings are very big in size, then the capillarity action will be zero. And if it is very fine openings, it can go up to as much as 2 to 3 meter in very fine clay. So clay, we all know that clay is a very fine material, right? Clay is the very fine material. So in clay, the capillarity action will be more because the smaller openings, okay, the capillary rise will be more. So capillary zone will be more, as much as 2 to 3 meter in very fine clay. So the limit of capillary lift, it varies again inversely with the diameter of the capillary openings. So capillary movement is relatively rapid in the larger capillary openings of small lift, that is almost 1 to 3 feet, and it is slow in the smaller tubes with higher lift up to 10 feet. So up to 10 feet, okay, thus it is slow in the smaller tube with higher lift. So this is the zone or the capillary zone which is just above the water table, where the all pores contain capillary water. So this is the capillary zone. So the water present in this zone is called as capillary water, or it is also called as fringe water. Okay, and important here is it is inversely, it varies inversely. The lift of this capillary water, it varies inversely with the diameter of the capillary openings, and the capillary zone will vary inversely with the pore size. That is important. If the pores or if the material is coarse grained, if the pores are very big, the capillary action will be zero, and if it is very fine, it will be more, capillary will be more, capillarity will be more. So this is the zone of capillary zone. Okay, so these are the three zones in the zone of aeration, that is soil water zone, intermediate vadose zone, and the last one is capillary zone. Now we'll see what is the zone of saturation or phreatic water zone. It is also called as phreatic water zone. So in the zone of saturation, which is present below or which lies below the water table, so below the water table, whatever water is available, that we call it as the groundwater. So all the openings of the interstices, they are filled with the water under the hydrostatic pressure, and hence the porosity, it provides the direct measure of the water which is content per unit volume. So here the porosity will be more. Porosity is the water holding capacity, you can say in short term, right? So wherever water is fully saturated, so it is called as the zone of saturation. So in this zone, the zone of saturation which lies below the water table, here what happens, all the openings or the interstices, they are filled with water under the hydrostatic pressure. So the water which is present in this zone, that is called as groundwater or phreatic water. So it is from this zone that the water is available for the development of satisfactory water supply system. Whatever water we are extracting using pumps, right? Because we need pump to lift the groundwater, right? So whatever water is available in the wells or the bore well, tube well, for different purposes we are using it. So whatever water is available in the wells and all, that water is called as the groundwater. So if the water moves through an interconnected body of the pervious material which is unhampered by impervious confining material, it may be denoted as free groundwater, which moves under the control of the slope of the water table. So what is explained here is, if the water is moving through the interconnected bodies of pervious material, pervious means porous material where the pores are interconnected, okay? So when it is unhampered by impervious confining material, impervious means where the pores are not connected, or pores are totally absent, where very like a layer of clay where the porosity is very less. It is like a layer, okay, which will not allow the water to percolate, okay? That is called as impervious layer. So if there is a impervious confining material, okay, there should not be any impervious material, then it is denoted as free groundwater, which moves under the control of the slope of the water table. So whatever is the slope of the water table, that is followed by the zone of saturation or phreatic water zone. So here the fixed groundwater is held in small openings which resist water movement under the usual hydrostatic gradient which is existing underground. So here the fixed groundwater, whatever is present, okay, that is held in the small openings which resist the water movement under the usual hydraulic gradient existing underground. So whatever hydraulic gradient is existing below the ground, okay, that is followed by the groundwater flow. So fixed groundwater is held in the small openings which resist the water movement under the hydraulic gradient which is existing underground. So this is the zone of saturation, where all the pores, all the openings are completely filled with water. So they are completely saturated with the water, you can say, and that is why it is called as the zone of saturation or the phreatic water zone. So this is the vertical distribution of groundwater, that is divided into two main zones, that is zone of aeration on the top and the zone of saturation at the bottom. Zone of aeration is divided into three subzones: the soil water zone, intermediate vadose zone and capillary zone. So this is the vertical distribution of groundwater.